From Royal Communications Incorporated, a pleasant good morning. Welcome to King's Newsroom, 45 minutes of high-grade balance, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one word. Today's Wednesday, August 20, 2025. My name is Cornelius Johnson, presenting story top in the headlines. U.S. Department of State 2024 Investment Climate Report on Liberia indicates misgovernance, corruption, and low human development, says public trust in the banking sector is low. Commercial Court of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court's ruling regarding payment of M-Touch Print Media Incorporated US $171,105 debt. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency warns citizens against ghetto raid. Outside LDA approval and coordination describe it as risks to public safety, violation of human rights, and compromise legal procedure. Away from Liberia, Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the UN's top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. And Arab mediators are awaiting a formal response from Israel after Hamas said it had accepted a new proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The news bulletin voices of the newsmakers are all packaged in this edition of the program. We take a very short break, so be right back. Thanks for being there and welcome back. The United States Department of State has released its report on Liberia's 2024 investment climate, indicating low human development and corruption. According to the 2024 investment climate indicators, expensive and unreliable electricity, poor roads, and a lack of reliable internet across, most especially outside urban areas, and pervasive government corruption, constrained investments and development are high in Liberia. The U.S. investment climate statement on Liberia noted that corruption and misgovernance continues to hinder growth, investments, and job creation, with Liberia largely commodities-based economy, relying heavily on imports, especially for most basic needs like fuel, clothing, and rice. U.S. Department of State added that Liberia's GDP ranks among the lowest in the world, but the economy grew by 4.7% in 2023 and is projected to grow 5.3% in 2024, noting that the public understanding of corruption in the public sector is high. At the same time, the report outlined low public trust in the banking sector and lack of access to business financing, noting that most cash are being held outside of banks. It further indicated that the government is yet to activate its long-planned national electronic payment system known as the National Switch, meaning banking instruments like ATMs and mobile money accounts remain unintegrated and are not interoperable. The statement points out that the Central Bank of Liberia and commercial banks are also pushing the adoption of mobile money, which Liberians access through mobile phones to make everyday purchases and pay bills. The Commercial Court of Liberia has issued a writ of execution against the National Elections Commission for its failure to pay a judgment debt totaling US $171,105 to M-Touch Print Media Incorporated. The court, in its writ of execution, ordered the NEC National Headquarters in Cinco to be temporarily shut down due to non-compliance with the court's ruling and failure to satisfy their outstanding obligation. The right, signed by Associate George Chanchan A. Pega, authorizes acting Sheriff Emmanuel Morris to seize and expose for sale the NEC movable assets, land, goods, and chattels to recover the debt should assets prove insufficient. The legal action brought by M-Touch Print Media Incorporated, represented by Vanning family, stems from unpaid contractual obligations. However, Despite a final judgment rendered by the court on June 3, 2025, the NEC has reportedly failed to make payments. The rate further mandates the personal appearance of NEC Executive Chairperson Madam David Eto Brown Lasana, including all commissioners before the court if the debt is not settled promptly. Meanwhile, in a brief response to the court rate of execution, the chairperson of the National Elections Commission, David Eto Brown Lasana, said the NEC will officially speak to the matter through its legal team. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency has warned the public against citizens' ghettos raid without coordination with the LDEA. In a statement released Tuesday, the LDEA noted that it's important for the general public to exercise caution when engaging in or organizing raids against suspected drug dealers, users, and individuals commonly referred to as Zogos to ensure public safety and prevent violation of human rights or compromise legal procedures. According to the agency, as the legally mandated institution responsible for combating drug-related crimes across Liberia, it appreciates the growing support from citizens in the fight against illicit drugs, adding that actions against suspected drug traffickers or drug-affected communities must be coordinated with the LDA in advance. The statement indicated that the LDA has trained technicians and certified officers equipped to conduct drug testing and investigations per national laws and international standards. In furtherance, the statement emphasized that citizens are encouraged to contact the LDA before taking any action related to suspected drug activities, noting that the agency, alongside central government, is working tirelessly to rehabilitate drug users, address homelessness among vulnerable populations, and reduce the overall impact of drug abuse in the country. The Sixth Judicial Circuit Civil Law Court has ruled that members who broke away from the United Methodist Church Liberia Annual Conference are not entitled to any of its properties. George Smith declared that claims made by the Global Methodist Church members regarding their right to a share in the church properties are legally unfounded. According to our judicial correspondent, the court ruling maintained that one cannot transfer or distribute what one does not legally own. The court further said Bishop Samuel Kriya had no authority to allocate church properties to the breakaway group, emphasizing that the church trustees are the rightful stewards of its assets. The ruling was triggered from a petition for declaratory judgment and reaffirms the legal ownership and authority of the United Methodist Church and Liberia Annual Conference over its assets and serve as a precedent in disputes involving religious institution properties rights. In a related development, the Benedict Magistrate of the Monrovia City Court, candidate Peabody, has reserved ruling until Thursday, August 21, following intense legal arguments from both sides. A legal battle over the control and operation of the St. Nangwe United Methodist Church has reached a critical point at the Monrovia City Court at the Temple of Justice. A petition for voluntary and temporary closure of the St. Nangwe United Methodist Church was filed by the Board of Trustees of the United Methodist Church through its chairperson, Father Herman Bromson, Directress Mother Elazar Kuya, and resident bishop Reverend Dr. Samuel Kuya Jr. The petitioners, represented by Councillor Emmanuel T. Reeves, are seeking a temporary closure of the church. They argue that the continuing presence and actions of Kopo Toma, a suspected lay leader, and his associates pose a risk of conflict, confusion, and potential violence within the congregation. In response, the respondents, represented by a legal team from J. Johnny Mobile and Associates in association with Unison Law Group Incorporated, strongly challenged the petition. The team includes Councillor Joan Johnson, Councillor Darius Ambrose Mai, Joseph Dagby, and several other attorneys. During oral arguments, the defense team asserted that the petition is procedurally defective and lacks legal standing. They argued that the petitioners failed to file an indemnable bond, which is a legal requirement to shield the respondents from potential losses in the event of a wrongful closure. The political leader of the Liberian People's Party, Councillor Tiewon Gonglo, has criticized President Joseph Boakai for what he described as the president's huge delegation to Japan for the TISA conference. The government delegation headed by President Boakai depart the country on Saturday, August 16, with over 40 delegates, including 23 top government officials. Speaking about the government delegation, the renowned human rights lawyer termed the trip as waste of money, noting that Liberia, as a third poorest country in the region, should go for things that will cause positive impacts rather than wasteful spending. Councillor Gonglo noted that the research have shown that Liberia is the only country that have taken high delegation to the conference. As climate financing becomes a vital resource for forest-rich countries, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency says Liberia is moving swiftly to position itself as a credible player in the global carbon market. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Dr. Emmanuel Yuri Yakpawolo outlined an agenda aimed at solving climate funding, conserving forests, and building resilience. According to Dr. Yakpawolo, the government of Liberia ambition is clear, but challenges of concerns from the global carbon financing, which talks about governance and transparency. He added that Liberia has signed a letter of agreement with the Coalition for Rainforest Nations on carbon strategy to provide partnership support for the development of a national carbon market policy and the execution of a comprehensive forest carbon stock inventory, an essential step in measuring Liberia's climate assets and setting a zero for future transaction. The EPA boss noted that the initiative includes capacity building for technical experts, use of advanced technologies such as satellite imagery and drone mapping, and nationwide consultations aimed at ensuring that the voices of the forest-dependent communities are reflected in the final policy. Dr. Yakpawolo furthered that the government consultations is already taking place in 7 of Liberia's 15 counties, with the remainder scheduled before the end of August. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at improving the mandate and accelerating its works and function. Speaking at the launching ceremony, Ministry of Finance Deputy Minister for Administration Bill Michael Jones said the plan will address issues that arise from the merger of the Ministries of Finance and Planning, bringing the Bureau of Budget and the separation of the Department of Revenue to establish the Liberia Revenue Authority. He added that the strategic plan is crucial for the ministry because it will provide the roadmap for achieving a long-term goal, enhancing decision-making, pointing out resources mobilization, and fostering a shared understanding of the objective of the entity. The launching ceremony held at the conference hall of the ministry in Monrovia on Tuesday was launched under the theme Fostering Strategic Priorities and Objectives through Evidence-Based Planning for Inclusive Economic Development. The Church 8 Incorporated, in collaboration with Pro-Life Global based in California, USA, has begun a 2-day training for students, volunteers, and religious leaders in Brownsville City, Montserrat County. Speaking during the commencement of the training, Vice President of the Pro-Life Global, Malaline Salazar Shah, encouraged the students and volunteers to form clubs in their communities to encourage women against abortion. According to Madam Sharp, abortion is an act of murder and it constitutes the violation of human rights. For his part, the chairman of the board of directors of the Church 8 Incorporated, Bishop Kotu Brown, claimed that about 73 million unborn babies are killed every year globally. Bishop Brown pointed out that the training is intended to prepare people who will curb the killing of unborn babies in their respective communities. And Former Finance Minister David Fahar has urged the Liberian government to prioritize the renovation of the E.J. Road building on Ashma Street in central Monrovia to be used by the state for revenue generation. The former Finance Minister argued that the building owned by the old Grand Old Chewing Party was constructed with monies forcefully deducted from employees of government regardless of being member of the party or not. Fahar proposed the building to be used for school or entertainment hub and further encouraged investors to take advantage of investing in the building. According to him, there is need that the government rethink its decision and reduce the high amount spent on renting buildings from private properties owned by people, most of whom exploited the masses over the years. Indeed, if you're just joining us, it's a reminder you are in tune to King's Newsroom for the 5 minutes of high-grade balance, incredible news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. One of our top stories this morning, U.S. Department of State's 2024 Investment Climate Report on Liberia indicates misgovernance, corruption, and low human development, says public trust in the banking sector is low. Let's now bring you voices of the newsmakers. To this development now, the political leader of the Liberian People's Party, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, has criticized President Joseph Boakai for what he described as the president's huge delegation to Japan for the TISAI conference. The government delegation headed by President Boakai departed the country on Saturday, August 16, with over 40 delegates, including 23 top government officials. Speaking about the government delegation, the renowned human rights lawyer termed the trip as waste of money, noting that Liberia, as a third poorest country in the region, should go for things that will cause positive impacts rather than wasteful spendings. Let's now bring you Councillor Tiawan Gonglo.
Liberia has the largest delegation in Japan. It is higher than South Africa, than Nigeria, than Egypt. And somebody can come and counter that. You know, when I campaign, I always talk about Botswana. Botswana delegation is led by the vice president, who's also a minister of planning and economic development. And you mention no other minister. This is the first time, not even unaware, that carry a large delegation. You have 12 ministers. There are 20 ministers. 12. That's more than 50% of the ministers going. So no job here. I was just at one hotel. I saw a congressional delegation. Who are they going to meet? Congressional delegation from the United States come in, and you take the whole government and take to ticker. Most often, that type of diplomatic delegation, congressional delegation is a high power delegation.
They could meet the vice president.
They could meet the vice president. But your trip is much better, and the country is taking at a higher level in terms of showing respect for the other country if they just even greet the president. Now, the president could have met them yesterday because they've been here before yesterday and could have gone yesterday. The president of South Africa left yesterday. Several delegations left yesterday. Why did we leave on the 16th? But you have to weigh the cost of the 10 poorest country spending its money that way compared to Botswana, not listed among the 10 poorest countries in the world. That is virtually a middle income country now. Using his money wisely and say only the vice president, who is also minister of planning, finance and economic development, will go with lower level people. The size of the delegation is not named, but the research shows that what's the largest delegation in Tokyo? Liberia. But that falls within the extradition treaty. That's crime. It's not a political offense.
He's the political leader of the Liberia's People's Party, a renowned human rights lawyer, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, there speaking. As climate financing becomes a vital resource for forest-rich countries, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency says Liberia is moving swiftly to position itself as a credible player in the global carbon market. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Dr. Emmanuel Yakpawulo outlined an agenda aimed at solving climate funding, conserving forests, and building resilience. According to Dr. Yakpawulo, the government of Liberia ambition is clear, but challenges of concerns from the global carbon financing, which talks about governance and transparency.
The National Climate Change Steering Committee mandated the Environmental Protection Agency to lead the development of developing carbon market policy and closely assisted by the Forestry Development Authority when related to carbon that is stored in the forest. Since that directive, the EPA, the FDA, and partners have been working tirelessly to develop both the policy framework and the climate change legislation that will govern Liberia's participation in the global carbon market, partnership with Coalition of Rainforest Nations. To strengthen this process, the government of Liberia signed a letter of agreement with the Coalition of Rainforest Nations. This partnership, CFRN, is providing technical assistance to support the drafting of Liberian carbon market policy as well as conducting a comprehensive forest inventory to determine Liberian carbon stock. This stock taking is essential as it will establish the baseline of the country natural capital in terms of carbon storage and set the stage for future participation in the international carbon market. On a capacity building, recognizing the importance of this national national expertise, the government FRN support has been conducting capacity building programs and training for the carbon technical working group, which comprises technicians from land industries and agencies as well as civil society organizations. These training aim to equip national stakeholders with the skills to collect and manage carbon data to stock of our forest carbon. During the last week of August, CFRN will carry out on-the-ground training in Liberia. Trainees will use modern technologies, including high resolution aerial photography and advanced marine tools to estimate Liberian carbon stock. A similar exercise is already underway for the country mangrove to determine their carbon storage potential.
Dr. Yakpawulo followed that the government consultations is already taking place in 7 of Liberia's 15 counties, with the remainder scheduled before the end of August. Meanwhile, the EPA executive director disclosed an upcoming national dialogue on the draft carbon market policy, adding that it is expected to broaden engagement with stakeholders from across the country, including government ministries, youth and women groups, development partners, and local communities.
In addition, the National Climate Change Steering Committee Secretariat, which is situated within the EPA, has carried out public consultation in 7 of Liberia's 15 counties, gathering input from local leaders, county authorities, and community representatives. The rest will be covered very soon. These consultations are central to ensuring that the policy reflects the view and needs of ordinary Liberians, especially those whose livelihood depends directly on forests and natural resources. The upcoming national dialogue to build on this momentum and ensure full national ownership. The EPA, along with its partners, under the auspices of the National Climate Change Steering Committee, will convene a national dialogue on the draft carbon market policy from August 21st to 22nd, 2025, in Kanta, Nima County. This dialogue will bring together county superintendents and development superintendents, ministers and head of government agency, civil society organizations and development partners, women and youth leaders, religious leaders and representatives, and other community representatives, as well as media and student groups. The national dialogue is intended to provide a platform for all voices to be heard. Feedback and recommendations gathered will be integrated into a draft carbon market policy, which will then move to a validation stage for formalization pathway to climate change law. Following validation, the next step will be the drafting of a comprehensive climate change law. This law will not only enshrine the carbon market policy, but it will also establish a clear legal framework for climate change governance in Liberia. It will provide the rules, institutions, enforcement mechanism needed to guide climate action, regulate emissions, and ensure that Liberia market benefits ensure that carbon market benefits are shared fairly, particularly for forest-dependent and vulnerable communities. Conclusion, Liberia is committed to building a transparent, accountable, and inclusive carbon market system that safeguards our forests, uplift communities, and position the country as a credible player in the global carbon market financing mechanism.
He's the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Emmanuel Ure Yakpawulo. They're speaking. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at improving the mandate and accelerating its works and functions. Speaking at the launching ceremony, Ministry of Finance Deputy Minister for Administration Bill McGill Jones said the plan will address issues that arose from the merger of the Ministries of Finance and Planning, the bringing together of the Bureau of Budget and separation of the Department of Revenue to establish the Liberia Revenue Authority. He added that a strategic plan is crucial for the ministry because it will provide the roadmap for achieving the long-term goal, enhancing decision-making, pointing out resource mobilization, and fostering a shared understanding of the objectives of the entity.
We gathered today in fulfillment of a promise we made 18 months ago to begin the process that will see the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning under the leadership of Augustine Piriga Form to develop an ambitious plan for the next 5 years under the theme fostering strategic priorities and the objectives through evidence-based planning for inclusive economic development. We made a promise to change things around, starting immediately with the restoration of confidence from the Liberian people, our partners, the business community, and you, the employee of the Ministry of Finance. Today, we've gathered to begin the development of a strategic plan, which is crucial for the Ministry of Finance because it will provide a roadmap for achieving the long-term goals, enhancing decision-making, optimizing resource mobilization, and also fostering a shared understanding of objectives. It will allow the Ministry of Finance to be proactive rather than reactive. It will anticipate challenges. It will adapt to changes that we will confront in the future in the environment and timely increase the likelihood of success for us and sustainability. The development of the strategic plan includes 3 major steps. 1, it will begin with the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning itself, from departments to units and to individuals. 2, we will deal with our development planning partners to ensure that their views and aspirations and their voice are heard. 3, we will deal with civil society institutions that are working with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that this is collective and inclusive. Once the plan is developed, it will set forth 7 key priorities. The first, it will set a clear direction for the ministry. 2, it will also enhance decision-making for the ministry. 3, it will optimize resource allocation. 4, it will improve our adaptive capacity to ensure that we can withstand shocks and new events that are coming forth. 5, it will foster our collaboration as a team and a ministry that monitors and take care of the entire development of this country. 6, it will increase accountability. And 7, it will build competitive advantage for us as a ministry.
He's Bill McGill Jones, Deputy Minister for Administration at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Indeed, if you just joined us, it's a reminder you are in tune to King's News Broom. Story topping the headlines this morning. U.S. Department of State 2024 Investment Climate Report on Liberia indicates misgovernance, corruption, and low human development says public trust in the banking sector is low. Commercial Court of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court ruling regarding payment of M-Touch Print Media Incorporated US $171,105 debt. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency warns citizens against ghettos raid outside LDA approval and coordinations. Describe it as risks to public safety, violation of human rights, and compromised legal procedures. Away from Liberia, Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the UN top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. And Arab mediators are awaiting a formal response from Asia after Hamas said it had accepted a new proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. We take a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments on the program. Thanks for being there and welcome back. Today's development on the Church Aid Incorporated in collaboration with the Pro-Life Global Base in California, USA has begun a 2-day training for students, volunteers, and religious leaders in Brownsville City, Merced County. Speaking during the commencement of the training, Vice President of the Pro-Life Global, Madeleine Salazar, encouraged the students and volunteers to fund clubs in their communities to encourage women against abortion. According to Madam Sharp, abortion is an act of murder and it constitutes the violation of human rights.
Babies were still being legally killed. It's estimated in 1 year around the world, there are about 73 million abortions happening around the world. 1 year. And that's just the abortions we know about that are being reported. So God really opened up my heart to want to fight for the unborn throughout the world. So we have trained, I believe, about 8,000 people so far, mostly in your continent, Africa, and we've saved hundreds of babies. Building a culture of life starts with you. It starts in your home. It starts in your backyard. It starts with the decisions that you make today to be an influence for the people around you. It starts by being the change that you want to see. I want to encourage you that you too can fight for life. You could start a life team, a pro-life club in your school, in your community, and you can be an influence to help girls who may find themselves in unexpected pregnancies, to walk with them throughout pregnancy and beyond. As pro-life people, we don't say, have the baby and good luck afterwards. No, we're pro-life. We say, I will be here with you every step of the way. About 96% of biologists agree that life begins at fertilization. And I know that humans create humans. Reborn, the unborn, the babies in the womb are human, and humans are valuable. We are equal, whether we are born humans or preborn humans in the womb. The right to life, not just for born humans, but also for preborn humans, the humans in the womb. Abortion is killing. It kills a baby in the womb, either by starving the baby or dismembering the baby or giving the baby a heart attack. There's different types of abortion procedures, but every abortion kills a baby. And to try to be that light in the darkness, to speak for life in a culture of death, and to protect babies in the womb and help women throughout pregnancy and beyond.
For his part, the chairman of the board of directors of the Church Aids Incorporated, the Bishop Carter Brown, claimed that about 73 million unborn babies are being killed every year globally. Bishop Brown pointed out that the training is intended to prepare people who will curb the killing of unborn babies in their respective communities.
The biggest investment anybody can have is in the building, the cars, education. What is it? Life. Without life, is there anything you can enjoy? Without life, you cannot enjoy anything. And the example is when you get sick. How many of you got really sick and you thought you would die? Why were you afraid to die? Tell me, what were you afraid to die? Because you don't want to lose your life. Life is precious. Now, we have different arguments in the world about how we sustain life, how we keep life. And we got different things that are working against our sustenance of life, keeping life. So, yeah, we are on the campaign several years now for the protection of life and family. Because the family is the factory for the production of what? Life. The family produce life, family keep life. So if those two things are undermined, then of course we have a serious problem in any society. So we run this campaign, and Church A for Sunday 27 years this year. Church A is doing a lot of good things, around Liberia, in West Africa. Just in April, they were in Sierra Leone, on the protection of life and family. Then 2 weeks ago, recently was in Ivory Coast, talking to about 600 women in the Ivory Coast on the protection of life and family. So we're here this week. We invited a group in the U.S. called Pro-Life. And one of the things that they're doing, primarily Pro-Life Global, there's an estimate that about 73 million babies are killed every year in the world. And it's a goal of Pro-Life to train 73 million lifesavers to protect 73 babies from being killed every year in the world. We invited them to come and be with us here this week so they can help our young people to learn about how they can protect life and family.
He's the chairman of the board of directors of the Church Aids Incorporated, Bishop Carter Brown. Earlier, you listened to the church, that's the Pro-Life Global based in the USA, Vice President Madeleine Zalasa Sharp. They're speaking. Former Finance Minister David Fahad has urged the Liberian government to prioritize the renovation of the E.G. Road building on Ashma Street in Central Monrovia to be used by the state for revenue generation. The former finance minister argued that the building owned by the Grand Ochuwe party was constructed with monies forcefully deducted from employees of government regardless of being member of the party or not. Fahad proposed the building be used for school or entertainment hub and further encourage investors to take advantage of investing in the building.
The true party building, that building, we all build it, all the Liberian people. The government should call for them now, or the government to try to resuscitate that building and put it to use. The money from the cultural school, all Liberians were private members of the true party. They call my money every year, every month, of salary to build the building, so nobody can cancel the building. I only do. My money is out. And so everybody were working in government. Put the building to use. They're just standing there. And nobody sees them. Sometimes this country, when I was finance minister, you see the finance ministry, it has an extension behind from Broad Street, goes to Cable Street, around, and come back. The annex, they call it. It's a 3-story annex. The top of it was flat roof, and they started to leak. I had my office in the second floor. When the rain outside, it leaked outside rain. So they decided what they needed to do is to do something. They wanted to cover it. So they gave a contract to a company. The man went and assessed, just to put thing on. The man assessed the building. Said, if I put it that way, it won't be all right. Foundation is very strong. If we can raise it, then we'll put the roof. And you have another floor. That man went through 2 finance ministers. I was the third one, came to see me. And they told me they had this contract, but they have not implemented it because it won't look good to just posting on. I said, what? We haven't done it because the third one we're coming to now. I was shocked because I mean, on logic, anybody would. Why won't you do that? You already need space. So I approve it. Call my deputy minister and I said, take these people to the parliament. Say yes, let them look at this. If the first floor is there now, so now we fight ourselves. We fight each other. That's what brought the war here. You doing something and people begin to fight you to go to the president with all kind of lies. That you doing this, you doing that, you want this. What kind of people are we?
His former finance minister, David Fahar, they're speaking. As the fight against drug and illegal substance continue to intensify, citizens of David Dean Town in Kokoya District, Bond County, on Tuesday staged a protest declaring their opposition to drug use and trafficking. The protest, organized under the leadership of the Gold Board President Emmanuel Johnson and David Dean's Town Youth President Melvin Shamu, was part of an initiative aimed at discouraging drug-related activities in the gold mining region. According to the protesters, the protest was also intended to raise awareness among youth and residents about the dangers of drug abuse and the need for collective action to rid the area of the growing menace.
We, the citizens, the youth, and women of this community, we gather here today to petition the district authority about the illegal success in our community. For the past 6-7 months, we are losing more than 10 persons for the daily inside. The more of them dying from these narcotic drugs. As we all know that drug is illegal in Liberia. So we gather together, we say enough is enough. We brought our petition to you to extend it to the district, the country at large, the country. That as of today's date, we don't want drugs in the way this time. It's better than him. We can be on the middle. Leadership, we tell them for time, later. When they take action, we will take our action. There is Jesus, what we want to say, we enhance everything you people are doing. We are in full support. I'm the CSO for the MSP drugs. I'm one of those that took that fellow just died recently yesterday from the ghetto there, day before yesterday. When we say anything, the people think we're not supporting it, but we support to the higher high. I want to make sure those who are in the line of drug on behalf of our administrative officer to make sure everybody leave the place and the place will be drug free. But we need your support. If you get any of them higher us, if you keep it there to the administrator, we have to take action on our person. So before you speak, I want to appeal to you. Thank you for the protest.
As part of their demonstration, the citizens presented a formal petition to the district administration calling for greater support and collaboration in their fight to curb the sale and use of drugs. The petition was received by district authorities who acknowledged their community's concern and vow to work with local leaders to address the issue. Away from home now, Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the UN top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. Caro Florent Niaz was declared persona non grata because of her role in drafting the report that came out in March, covering a 2-year period. The study detailed more than 2,000 cases of reported child recruitment, killings, sexual violence, and abuse, blaming Islamic insurgents, government soldiers, and civilian defense forces. The military government, which came to power in September 2022 and is led by Captain Ibrahim Touré, said it had not been consulted by the United Nations, saying the report contained unfounded allegations. And Arab mediators are awaiting a formal response from Israel after Hamas said it had accepted a new proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The plan was presented by Qatar and Egypt, which are trying to avert a major new Israeli offensive to occupy Gaza fully. Qatar said it was almost identical to a U.S. proposal for a 60-day trials, during which around half of 50 hostages held in Gaza, 20 of whom are believed to be alive, will be handed over to the two sides, will negotiate a lasting ceasefire and the return of the rest. In the recent days, Israel government has said it will no longer accept a partial deal, only a comprehensive one that will see all hostages free. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of King's Newsroom. But just before we go, our stories we closely follow in the headlines. U.S. State of that's U.S. Department of State's 2024 investment climate report on Liberia indicates misgovernance, corruption, and low human development. Says public trust in the banking sector is low. Commercial Code of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court ruling regarding payment of M-Touch Print Media Incorporated US $171 105 debt. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency warns citizens against ghettos raid outside LD approval and coordination, described as a risk to public safety, a violation of human rights, and compromised legal procedure. Away from home, Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the UN's top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. And Arab mediators are awaiting a formal response from Israel after Hamas said it had accepted a new proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Many thanks to all of our contributors, editors, and reporters who helped in making this edition of King's Newsroom a success. Join us this afternoon at 1 p.m. for another edition of the program. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Cornelius Johnson. Thanks for listening and watching. Good morning.